Welcome to Motivational Humanity. You are not alone. You have never been more connected. Your phone lights up. Your calendar is full. Your group chats are active. Your social media proves you exist. And yet you have stood in a room full of laughter and felt invisible. You have sat at a dinner table surrounded by conversation and felt miles away. You have smiled on cue while something inside you whispered, "No one really sees me." That's the paradox. You can be surrounded by people and still feel profoundly alone, not because you are broken, not because you are antisocial, but because proximity is not intimacy. Noise is not connection, and attention is not belonging. There is an epidemic happening quietly beneath the surface of our lives. It's not a lack of people. It's a lack of presence. Not a lack of interaction, but a lack of emotional resonance. You don't feel lonely because no one is there. You feel lonely because no one feels there with you. And if you've ever left a crowded room feeling emptier than when you walked in, this is for you. Loneliness is often misunderstood. We treat it as a numbers problem. Meet more people, join a club, network, put yourself out there. But loneliness in a crowded room isn't about quantity. It's about emotional safety. Emotional intelligence teaches us something powerful. Connection is not built through performance. It is built through vulnerability. And vulnerability is terrifying because vulnerability means being seen without armor. It means letting someone glimpse your uncertainty, your doubts, your imperfections. It means risking rejection in exchange for belonging, as Brené Brown teaches through her research on shame and connection. Belonging doesn't require you to change who you are. It requires you to be who you are. But here's the painful truth many of us have learned: to perform instead of connect. We have mastered small talk but forgotten soul talk. We know how to be impressive, agreeable, funny, competent, but not how to say, "I'm struggling," not how to say, "I feel out of place," not how to say, "I need to know I matter here." So you walk into rooms carrying a polished version of yourself, and polished things don't bond. Raw things do. That is where the disconnection begins. You have felt this. You walk into a gathering and instantly scan the room. Who looks confident? Who looks important? Where do you fit? Your nervous system goes on silent alert. You adjust your tone. You adjust your humor. You adjust your opinions just slightly, just enough to blend in. You become what the room rewards, and everyone claps for the version of you that feels least like you. This is the performance trap. It's subtle. It doesn't feel like lying. It feels like survival. Because somewhere in your story, you learned that authenticity came at a cost. Maybe when you were younger, expressing sadness made you too sensitive. Maybe sharing excitement made you too much. Maybe asking questions made you annoying. So you apped it. You learned to monitor yourself, to curate your reactions, to shrink or inflate depending on what was required. And now, even in adulthood, your body remembers. So in that crowded room, you aren't relaxed. You are evaluating, calibrating, performing, and performance creates applause, but it does not create intimacy. Intimacy requires exposure. Imagine trying to hug someone while wearing armor. You can go through the motions, but you won't feel the warmth. When you are performing, people may admire you, but they cannot access you. And the cruel irony is this: the more successful your performance, the lonelier you feel. Because you know they are connecting with the mask. And something inside you whispers, if they knew the real me, would I still belong? That whisper is the birthplace of crowded room loneliness. You have probably told yourself, I have friends, I have family. I shouldn't feel this way, but feeling lonely isn't about being surrounded by people who know your name. It's about being known emotionally. There is a difference between being recognized and being understood. You can have coworkers who know your role, friends who know your stories, followers who know your highlights, but do they know your fears? Do they know the thought you had at 2 a.m. last week? Do they know the quiet ache you carry when everyone else seems to be thriving? Loneliness grows in the gap between your external life and your internal experience. You sit there listening to conversations about vacations, achievements, weekend plans, and you nod, you contribute, you laugh. But internally you're thinking, does anyone here know what I'm really carrying? It's like being underwater while everyone else is breathing air. You can see them, you can hear them faintly, but there is a thin, invisible barrier between you. Here's what emotional intelligence reveals: connection requires emotional risk. And most crowded rooms are built on emotional safety contracts. Let's keep this light. Let's not get too deep. Let's stay comfortable. But the soul does not bond over comfort. It bonds over truth. You don't feel lonely because you lack interaction. You feel lonely because the interaction never crosses the threshold into authenticity. You long for someone to ask, how are you really? And then stay long enough to hear the answer. But often you don't offer that either, because you're afraid that if you go first, if you admit you feel disconnected, you will be the only one. And so everyone waits, waiting for someone else to be brave. Meanwhile, the room stays loud. The louder continues, and inside you feel quietly unseen. You have scrolled through feeds that promise closeness, pictures of laughter, perfectly staged outings, highlights of life that seem fuller than yours. And you felt that familiar tug, comparison, the creeping thought, everyone else is thriving, everyone else belongs, everyone else is seen. Social media is the ultimate paradox of our age. It connects us superficially while deepening our disconnection. You comment, like, and share. You send emojis to convey what you can't say in person. And yet the emptiness lingers. It's like shouting into a canyon. Echoes return, but no one actually heard you. You might even reach out to someone, texts, calls, DMs, but the responses are polite, curated, short. You feel acknowledged, not known, appreciated, not understood, because real connection cannot be captured in pixels or notifications. Here's the truth you already suspect. Authentic connection requires presence, not presentation. And the irony, we have mastered the art of being visible while remaining invisible. You have felt the tension between desire and fear. You want to speak your truth. You want to share what really matters. You want to say, I am lonely, even here, I need someone to see me, and something inside resists. Shame whispers. You'll be rejected. You'll seem weak. You'll be too much. But what if vulnerability is not weakness? What if vulnerability is the bridge between isolation and intimacy? Brené Brown calls it the birthplace of connection. When you step forward and allow yourself to be seen, without masks, without perfection, you invite others to do the same. You create a space where someone else might whisper their own truth. Me too. Imagine a room where every person lets down a piece of armor, where laughter is not a shield and small talk is not a substitute for presence, where honesty is not risky, it is sacred. That is not utopia. That is connection. And it begins with you. And you have the power to change your experience in a crowded room. It starts with noticing. Notice the moments when you feel unseen. Notice how your body reacts. Tight shoulders, racing thoughts, self-consciousness. Then choose courage, speak, even if your voice trembles. Share, even if your words feel awkward. Listen, not just to reply, but to understand, because the antidote to loneliness is not more people. It is more depth, more presence, more truth. And here is the subtle, radical insight. Belonging does not require everyone to like you. It does not require approval. It requires authenticity. You can be in a room full of people and finally feel at home in yourself. You can laugh, and not as a performance. You can talk, and not as a shield. You can connect and finally be seen. You have felt it. The pull to step back, to shrink into the edges of the room, to become invisible when the noise swells and the laughter cuts through like a spotlight on your solitude. You've seen others move effortlessly, their ease making your own self-consciousness heavier, as if every smile you force carries a weight no one else can see. And in those moments, the temptation to retreat is almost unbearable. But stepping out of the crowd is not surrender. It is not giving up. It is a quiet, profound act of courage. It is choosing to honor your own presence over the pressure, to perform, to be liked, or to blend in. When you step away, even just for a moment, you allow yourself to breathe, truly breathe. Your shoulders relax, your chest unclenches, your mind, so often scanning, adjusting, and rehearsing, finally has a chance to rest. In that space, away from the prying eyes and the chatter that demands your constant engagement, you reconnect with yourself. You remember the parts of you that existed long before the room, long before the expectations, long before the masks. You remember the quiet voice inside that whispers your truth, even when the world hasn't learned to hear it yet. You sit with it, not judging, not forcing, just noticing. This is where strength lies, in the stillness that allows you to feel fully human, fully present with your own thoughts and feelings. And when you return to the room, when you re-enter the conversation or the laughter, you do so from a grounded place. You are no longer reacting, you are not performing, you are present. Your words carry authenticity, your laughter carries resonance. Your presence itself becomes magnetic because it is no longer constructed. It is real. You might be surprised at what happens when you take this step. Someone across the room may notice your ease. Someone else may mirror the authenticity you carry. Connections begin not because of charm or popularity or wit, but because of the courage to exist as yourself, fully and unapologetically, even in a space that once felt overwhelming. And the quiet truth, the radical insight, is this: every time you step out of the crowd, even briefly, you reclaim a piece of yourself. You remind your nervous system that you are safe enough to exist as you are. You prove to your own heart that connection begins within. And from that place, intimacy, understanding, and belonging become not distant ideals, but living possibilities. Even in a room full of people, you can feel seen. Not because the room has changed, but because you have learned to carry your light through the edges of it. And that light, small as it may feel at first, has the power to illuminate not just your own presence, but the presence of others who have been waiting for courage like yours. You have learned comfort. You have learned safety, have built walls and routines, habits and shields, because somewhere along the way, you decided it was easier to stay small than to risk being hurt. You have perfected the art of smooth exits, practiced the polite laugh, and mastered the timing of your responses, all to keep the room from seeing the parts of you that feel jagged, unpolished human. But comfort does not create bonds. Comfort does not heal the quiet ache of feeling unseen. It does not make someone lean closer or pause long enough to understand the tremor in your voice, the tension in your hands, the shadow behind your smile. Comfort is the surface of life, the shallow water where you float without sinking, safe from the currents, but also distant from the depth. Connection is different. Connection demands risk. It demands leaning into the discomfort, the awkwardness, the fear of being misunderstood. It asks you to speak when your voice trembles, to share the thoughts that feel too heavy, the feelings you've been trained to hide. It asks you, let someone the cracks you've tried to plaster over, the stories you've tucked into corners, the shame you thought would destroy you if exposed. And it is terrifying. Your mind screams at you. They'll judge you. They'll reject you. You'll be too much. The familiar ache of past disappointments rises. Memories of being dismissed, overlooked, laughed at, or abandoned. But here is the truth your heart already knows. Vulnerability is not weakness. Vulnerability is courage. Vulnerability is the bridge between isolation and intimacy. Vulnerability is the quiet rebellion against the loneliness you feel even in a crowded room. Imagine for a moment what it would feel like to speak your truth without apology, to show the depth of your humanity without fear of being minimized. Imagine pausing before the automatic retreat, letting your words linger, letting your feelings breathe, letting another human hear you fully. Not just the polished surface, but the trembling, messy, real you. Imagine the quiet miracle that happens when someone meets you there. They do not fix you. They do not rescue you. They simply witness you, and in that witnessing, the air shifts. The room softens. The distance between hearts narrows. Even if they do not respond perfectly, even if they stumble or fail to fully understand, your act of courageous vulnerability sends a message to yourself first and to the world second, that you are worthy of being seen. It reminds your nervous system that it is safe enough to open. It reminds your soul that authenticity is more precious than applause. And it reminds the universe that your presence matters, even when the room is loud, chaotic, or indifferent. Every time you choose vulnerability over comfort, you claim a piece of your freedom. You step out of the shallow water of polite survival into the currents of human truth. You remind yourself that the most profound connections are not born from perfection, but from bravery, honesty, and the willingness to be seen exactly as you are. And in that act, something shifts, not only in the room around you, but inside of you. You carry less armor, you carry more light. You carry the possibility that loneliness can be softened, even transformed, by the simple, radical courage of being human. You have realized something profound. The room in which you feel lonely is not always around you. It is within you. It is the quiet, shadowed space you carry inside your chest, shaped by every moment when you were overlooked, dismissed, or told that your feelings were too much or not enough. It is built from old stories you were never meant to tell. The secret hurts you tucked away, the words you swallowed to keep peace or avoid judgment. That room, small and echoing, has been both refuge and prison. It has sheltered you, but it has also kept you apart from the very connection you crave. And yet, this room is not fixed. It is not permanent.